Earlier, we were telling that God is listening, right? Nowadays, system is listening. Was the world's first uh, blockchain-based email system. It's not coincidence.
Think is the biggest challenge for the enterprise right now. There is Israeli bot which was stealing and looking and find a lot of what do you call politically exposed PEP or
Yeah,
VIP
yeah.
information, cell phones, laptops. Everybody hears what we talk around, and that's why they are able to connect the dots.
Never ever, right?
Is not a hacking actually, but was used as one of like the hacking things from. Do you think that these products are that much focused around the. Hello, hi. Hello, hi, fellow hackers. This side, Nikhil. I'm your host, and we are back with another episode at the Hacker Club. Today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Vinay Krishna. He is the CTO and co-founder of LedgerFi and Pingala. It's a very innovative product, and we are ready to hear a lot from him. So, without wasting much of the time, let me invite Vinay. So, hi, Vinay. Thank you so much for joining us and accepting our invite to be a host on this channel. Can you start by a quick introduction about you and what you're doing currently?
Thanks, Nikhil. And I'm really excited to be part of this podcast, right? And definitely, I will share from my side what my journey and my views or my experiences. But at the same time, I would also learn from you a lot, right? So I'm excited here to share my vision for a secure communication ecosystem, which we are trying to build. But before that, I will just tell you that what was my background and how I have just came into this, right? So I'm a seasoned technocrat with over 2 decades of experience in the software development industry. Primarily, I started my journey as a developer, right, application developer and all, and keep changing my technology because the technology is keep evolving right now also, right? So that's how we learn from that. And that way, what I have also primarily work on two of the area. One is on the healthcare side, right, which is completely like a security oriented, like lots of compliance are there for maintaining the data privacy and security. The same applies with the fintech, where I have also worked with certain banks and all. So that's how I started getting into this security, privacy, and all those things. More interested in that case. And from the entrepreneurial side, right, that journey also I'm having, like what you have mentioned. I have one founder of LedgerFi IT Solutions, Pingla Software. I also worked quite well on the technical agility side. So I have founded the Technical Agility Institute and also creator of Technical Agility Conference, right? And academia side, I always try to bridge a gap between industry and the academia, and that's the reason I have also served as guest professor for some of the prestigious institutes like BITS Pilani Manipal University, and right now also associated with various engineering colleges and conferences, right? So yeah, so right now, if you look at from the LedgerFi side, uh, as I told you that I was working on two of the industry, which was more on the compliance side, right? So that started giving me a feel of like which are the areas where we are seeing that data is getting compromised, and right. So in that case, we have seen that there are lots of things that we are keep exchanging as a user, as a employee, as a within organization also, which is like emails, messaging system, and all. So we have built two of our product. One is Ledger Mail, which is a completely secured email system. And once we have launched that, that was the world's first uh, blockchain-based email system. We have done that,
Okay.
right? That is available for B2C also and in enterprise as well. And the same way, like a Ledger Chat, which is right now only for the enterprises, where your all the messages remain secured, not like in WhatsApp. So
For us to understand as a consumer and as well as an enterprise, there are a lot of things which you can do in data privacy. But before we get into the exciting thing which you are doing and this exciting field of cybersecurity and the data privacy, I want to understand get a more details about your background. Okay, and as we discussed, we don't have to keep it very kind of formal. Well, we what we want to understand is like how your journey can benefit, or like how students or the newcomers can learn from your journey about how you started. And you mentioned like you started as software developer and then get into the application security. So I'm sure like I personally meet a lot of folks who wants to actually get into cybersecurity. Either they are freshers or maybe they are a software developers or into product management, but they want to get into cybersecurity. So I'm sure that there are a lot of insight which they can learn from you. So before we start that, can you give us a quick background about like where are you from, how you where you did your schooling, how which what you did from
Okay.
a graduation perspective, and so like
Yeah.
all
Yeah. Yeah.
the all the listeners have an idea about how your journey started and how you choose to get into this domain.
Right, right. So I'm from Jharkhand, Dhanbad, right? And I have done my initial, my like schooling, college there, right? Later I moved and I have done my, after my graduation, I am from background of like a physics honors, right? So that's how I have started. And then I have done my post-graduation diploma in computer applications from Pondicherry University. I moved to Delhi, right, and there I have started my career, right, working with that application developer, right, for some companies there, right, and gradually, as I told you, that I started learning the technology that always makes you excited, right, as a developer. But at the same time, when I started dealing with that domain, right, which was on the healthcare, I started seeing that there are lots of things that we need to take care of. It's not just the application, but the data, right? So that started giving me like, okay, when we are talking about those compliance and all, right? So that is something I started getting into that. So that was one of the thing which was like a HIPAA compliant if you look at into that healthcare related applications, right? And when I started getting into some European clients and all, right? So that time we were feeling like, okay, we need to have that GDPR compliant and all, right? So then those things also started giving me like, okay, I need to build that skills as also. So technical skills, if you look at, right, we have to build a solid foundation in cybersecurity, cryptography, right, data protection,
Correct,
regulations also like GDPR, CCPA, and all, right. That was one of the things which was you started giving me like, okay, what are the things that we can explore there, right? And then it started coming into like the new technologies also came like blockchain, decentralized technologies like Web3 and all, right, which was also giving me like, okay, how distributed ledger technology, right? And what is their role if you are going to have building some applications around that, right? So that was another thing. At the same time, if you look at, so that is from the technology side, and another one is like us, your security side, some good understanding on those kind of regulations. It's just not the regulations. There is a need for that, right? So we need to understand, and we have to understand also there like how encryption works, how secure systems are designed,
correct,
right? Then another thing is which is important is why these regulations are there, like ethical and legal mindset, right? So it's a data privacy, nothing but it's like a ethics.
correct,
It is like not more than it's not just the technology, right? We
correct,
have to understand that how we can navigate to the privacy laws, how we can design a user-centric systems, right?
correct,
So those things are critical. And at the same time, when we are talking about like privacy is not just a technical issue, but it's a more human issue, right? So we have to
correct,
also look at like how we can have build that soft skills also, right? Right, which will
correct,
be helping us to translate complex privacy challenges into solutions. So if you look at that's how it all these things was imbibed with my entire journey, right?
okay,
So if you'll ask me that when it has started, the foundation has started when the development has, I started with the development and when we started talking into those domains,
okay,
right? I still remember when we were building one application, right, where lots of like customers, right, credit card was involved, right, where the data was coming up and all, right. The organization has asked us to sign, each developer who were involved there to sign that one separate form to have a consent, like, okay, we are not going to reveal or there are lots of things, right? Okay, so it's not like that will give you like, okay, yes, you have signed and you are just going with your development, but you have to also understand why it's getting asked, right? And
correct,
I will tell you with that, I have started thinking about why we need that form to be. Can we guarantee like, okay, this with this form, no one will reveal, right? It's just
correct,
like we are making a checklist. So
correct,
I will tell you, like 1.5 year back, we have actually built one system where all your personal information, whatever data you are getting from, suppose you are getting a data from uh, US, right?
Correct.
And if the raw data is coming, it does not matter where you are storing, how securely you are storing, right? Is it
Correct.
really accessible to anyone?
Correct.
So we have used there that pseudonymization
Okay.
technique, which will be actually making your data available, which can work with your system. But it is not just the masking, it's not the encryption, it's the
Okay.
pseudonymization, right? So something that is what we started learning that, right? And we started thinking like, okay, how it can be done. So if you'll ask me that how others will look into this, right? They have to build couple of things like technical skills, right? Where
Correct.
they have to understand cybersecurity, data protection, the encryption, how it works. Then some of the latest technologies also, like even the blockchain is also having some of the, like how you will maintain the different
Correct.
ledgers and all, right? Then you have to get into that mindset of like ethical and legal, right?
Correct.
So that is important for anyone and look into that, how they can learn more. So the one thing which I would say that we have to be always in a learner mode.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, the learning never stops. As a student, so let's say a student or a new professional who are starting their career in cybersecurity and they have selected data privacy as one of their domain in which, let's say, they are exploring some new opportunities. What kind of a skill sets do you suggest they should uh, maybe brush up while applying for these kind of roles? And what do you think? Like, are there roles available in the industry which are looking for freshers or maybe start like the someone who is starting fresh in this domain when it comes to data privacy? Are there opportunities available? What do you think?
Yes, yes, there are huge opportunity. If I will tell you, going forward, this particular domain is going to be a big, like a opening for the freshers also, right? Because if you look at this moment, we are just talking about AI, we are talking about Gen AI and all, right? Where we are collecting data, we are using that data, right? So uh, if you'll ask me that how they should start with, they have to start in the two part. One is on the technical side, they should start getting more like a deep dive on the cybersecurity, cryptography, right? How encryption works, right? And at the same time, they have to also look at the different kind of regulations available, like GDPR is there, or CCPA is there, or HIPAA is there. That will help them to understand or build their ethical and legal mindset,
Okay,
right? So these two things are very important. It's just, I told you, that data privacy is not just the technology.
correct.
It's way beyond that. It's like a ethics. If I'm collecting, my system is collecting the data, right? I am responsible to ensure that I have not collected more than what I'm required, and whatever I am collecting, I am responsible to uh, securing that data, right? So that is something we need to understand, right? And as a developer, if we are able to understand, I will tell you that's like nothing more than that,
Mhm.
right? And actually people require that kind of developers.
Correct, definitely, yeah. That is really important. And going forward from like maybe a professionals and the student point of view, let's touch base something from an enterprise perspective. So like over your journey around data privacy, what do you think from an enterprise perspective, what they can do from a data privacy angle? What are your suggestions that an organizations, and like there are various sides of organizations. It's not just enterprise nowadays focused on data privacy, but as a startup or a mid-sized organizations also have the data privacy concern as much as it's for an enterprise. Of course the scale may differ, but you have seen that an organization or maybe a startup of like maybe 40-50 employees can also be processing really critical data of companies, and they can have more customer data compared to maybe an enterprise as well, right? So it definitely depend on the type of organization. So as a enterprise, what do you suggest they should approach the data privacy from an organization perspective?
Yes, yes, yes. So what we have actually touched base, right? It's a very important part, right? If you look at the large scale enterprise, right? Definitely they will be having their own regulations, compliance, their auditor, many things, right? But if you look at like a startup side, right, you will find that maybe this is getting overlooked because their first thing is like how they can get into the market, how they can be able to sustain and all those things, right? But at the same time, when they are working on those kind of domains, right, definitely because of that domain nature, they have to adhere to those compliance and all, right? So that they have
Correct.
to do. But it's not like every startup is working on those domain, right? But still
Correct.
you are collecting lots of data. So definitely that time as well, right? We have to look into those aspects. And if you look at right now in India, so it's like just a law that has been got. We have got that DPDPA, where if you are not taking the consent, if you're not protecting that, right, you can get into that lawsuit and all, right? But is it implementation, is the implementation done here, or we are having that clarity like how it will get implemented? It's not. But I'm seeing that lots of activities happening there. I'm
Okay.
seeing that
Correct.
people are coming with like a data protection officer, DPO kind of roles and all,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so that is showing us like, okay, we are getting into that particular path now. So that's
Okay.
where I'm saying that maybe if you'll ask me that now, do we have that much opportunity? May not be, right? But if you
Correct.
look at going forward, I'm just looking at in India perspective, right? In 2 to 3 years, it's going to be huge.
Interesting. Yeah. And over the years, like you have seen the domain evolved. You have seen how data privacy have evolved from over, let's say, a decade or 2 decades, right? So, what do you think is the biggest challenge for the enterprise right now? What do you think they are struggling with?
So enterprise, I will tell you that challenges that they are facing is the more they are trying to make the strict uh, boundaries around that, like a data protection and privacy and all, right? They are finding two things. One is like a data breaches. Data breaches maybe knowingly or unknowingly. So as an employee, when I am there, I'm not sure like, okay, whether this data is really important or I should share with whom, right?
Correct.
If you are sharing within the organization also, whom you are sharing, that matters a lot,
Correct.
right? So that is something which is always making that uh, like you can say for any organization, right? A lot
Correct.
they have to do in that case, right? Like it's not, the data breaches are completely different than the data leaks. Data leak will
True.
be possible by your application which is like having that vulnerability available there, right? And that's how, or somebody was able to get into your system, right? And they are able to get that. So that is kind of like you are giving that access to those who are not intended to. Data breaches are like somebody within your organization is able to, right? So that is a biggest threat for any organization. And
Correct.
since the technology is like in this way, like I will tell you, we keep within the organization also unofficially, we use lots of unsecured messaging tools,
Correct.
right? Thinking that it's more secured, right? So if I will be sending you one information over WhatsApp, right, it is secured. Why? Because end to end encrypted. But once you received, then that information is not encrypted. You can share it with anyone.
Correct.
Unknowingly, also suppose I want to send it to you, I have sent it to someone else. It happens, right?
Correct.
Mistake happens, right? You can delete it, but by that time maybe he has seen that message, right? So there are lots of challenges available for enterprise also. They keep doing like another thing is phishing attack. What happens in the phishing attack? I am sending you pertaining like you are getting a mail from your HR CEO whatever, right? And you are clicking it, or maybe I'm sending you something which excites you, right? And you are
Correct.
not knowing that okay, it is coming from that place, and you are clicking that link. We keep doing that, okay, don't click on this, don't click on that, right? We do that security trainings also. But still what happens, that kind of incidents are a lot, right? And
Correct.
then
Yeah.
they are losing a lot, right? So that's a big threat for big organization also. So one thing what we have to keep doing is that we should not create just the checklist.
Correct.
We have to create that awareness why it is important. Even though if I will give you that training, right, if you have not understood why we are doing it, right, you may fall into that trap,
Correct.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the
I
biggest
agree.
threat, and it's not for the organization, for everyone. I will tell you one more thing. Like suppose you want to take a Xerox,
Yeah.
right, photocopy basically, right? And if I'm a photocopier, I will tell you that send your file into my this WhatsApp number. You will send it.
Correct.
Your Aadhaar number also you will send it.
Correct, correct. Yeah, I do see a lot of folks exchanging so many critical informations.
Yes, That's true.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, do you think like it's a theory like there was a lot of information and news going onwards that there is Israeli bot which was stealing and looking and spying the a lot of what do you call politically exposed PEP or
Yeah, yeah,
VIP
yeah.
informations right on WhatsApp they were trying to spy. So, do you think that is possible even though WhatsApp claimed to be like end-to-end encryption that can still be done? Like that encryption can be broken, or do you suggest that it is not about
So I will tell
breaking the
you.
encryption?
So
Yeah,
you have to understand. They say that it's a end-to-end encrypted.
correct.
The end-to-end encryption means when I'm sending a file to you, right? In between, till the time you are receiving, right? No one will be able to break that. And that's true, right?
Correct.
But once you have received, now it's in your phone,
Cool.
in your files folder, whatever, right? After that, it's a normal file.
That's a normal. So I remember this Vinay, like when we used to back then when WhatsApp was released, like, and it's a story of almost like a 5 6 years ago when like initially when we were started using the WhatsApp, and I was an Android user. Like I was trying to identify the privacy aspect and the security aspect to compare it between the Android and the iOS, and that's where I was trying to see the WhatsApp files. They like WhatsApp create a folder in your Android and there is a database file which is created within your folders within your Android. There is a .db and it
Right,
encrypts it, so
right.
it's not just like a readable file but it's an encrypted file which is created within your folders within your. But that encryption was very easy to break earlier also, like it's a couple of years ago it was
Yes,
quite
yes,
easy to
yes.
break. I know that there are a lot of open to source tools which are available through which the hacking can be done. And of course this is not a hacking actually, but definitely like this was used as one of like the hacking things from the people. They used to copy this and then accordingly take the backup of their chats and all. Right now of course like WhatsApp has integrated within the cloud and you can back up your chats to the cloud itself. But earlier back then when they started there was no WhatsApp cloud. The chat has was stored locally,
Mhm.
and the files, like if you have to back up your files or anything, you just can copy your that encrypted chat
Files to
folder
that, yeah.
files to that. So that was like the thing. So the right now also if these files are there in your storage in your phone storages, let's say now also we have WhatsApp,
Mhm.
so it's possible to actually crack these kind of folders. Do you think this is very much possible right now, even
Yeah, yeah.
though so
Yes, yes,
that
yes.
encryption which WhatsApp claims and is having is mostly end to end, just like during in transit, data in transit encryption?
Yes, yes, yes. Only in
Okay.
the transit. That's it. When the receiver has received, it won't. And another thing is WhatsApp keep claiming that they do not keep the backup or any data or anything in their server. But I will tell you that that's also not completely true, because in certain scenarios, like suppose you have sent me a file, I am offline, where that file will be,
Correct. Yeah.
right? So definitely it will
That
be
will
at their
be
server,
correct.
right? For some time it will be their server, right? And then after that I will receive, maybe they are deleting it, what they are doing, I'm not sure. But yes, of course, that's a question, right? The same thing, they right now they have adopted that Signal open source for that
Yeah.
message
Correct.
encryption and all, right? So they have used. But if you look at it, Signal is completely backed by the US government, right?
Yeah.
And that's how they have created open source and all. And there is also lots of theory going on, like, okay, whether they can be able to access that or not. So they say that they cannot, but there are certain examples, some kind of case studies where they are saying that it could be. But yes, we never know.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, that definitely. So like from an alternative, so what we know WhatsApp is not end-to-end encrypted, and these chats, like for example, the social media platforms also have the chat options like WhatsApp. Apart from WhatsApp, WhatsApp's parent company like Meta has Facebook,
Meta.
Instagram, and a lot of things are there, right? So I'm assuming the chat functions there also is not that secure, and it is definitely not advisable that you share your credit card information or maybe username password
Yes,
within the
yes.
chat with your friends or family during the chat on the chat, right? It
Mhm.
should not be thought that it is very much secure. And I have also seen folks who not just like take the picture of the credit card or some cards and just send it, but also sometimes they think that okay, maybe my photo of the card can be scanned and Meta will be able to identify, the
Mhm.
algorithm will be able to identify that it's a credit card. So what they do is instead they give a credit card number with expiry date and the CVV, and then they send it over the text, thinking that they might be outsmarting the algorithm, not thinking that actually they know the credit card format and how the CVS scores, so those kind of things. What do you
Right,
think like
right.
this happens, right?
Yeah, yeah, it happens. It happens. It happens. See, nowadays, whatever you or me, we are doing, right? Earlier, we were telling that God is listening, right? Nowadays, system is listening.
Correct, correct.
We
So,
are
yeah,
surrounded by system. I don't know by God or not, but yes, by system definitely, who is keep trying to listen to us and trying to see that how they can get some information from there for each data, right? That is how it happens, right?
definitely. So on the same subject, Vinay, like we see like nowadays products are using privacy as a form of advertising, or as a what we call as a competing competitive. They are using this as a competitive feature. So for example, like when you look at like the advertisement, let's say from a phone perspective, Apple always identify itself as a more privacy specific phone compared to any Android or any other phones like Samsung or anyone, right? It
Yep.
specifically focuses on that. We focus on the privacy. Same we see in our software products also. There are a lot of products in the market which says that we are focused on data privacy of the users or maybe enterprises, and a lot of emphasis has been done on the data privacy part and the user privacy part. But do you think that these products are that much focused around the privacy, or they are just like just from a psychology perspective, they want to get the assurance of the consumers, and they are kind of doing this from a psychology perspective? What are your thoughts about this? Have you seen a good product which is properly implemented, focused around the privacy aspect?
I have not seen that. More or less everywhere, right? Wherever you will find that that is going to be somewhere that's centralized, right? It will be. They will try to get the data. That's the reason if you might have seen whether it was Google or Meta, their CEO, when they have been called in front of the Congress and they were in US Congress, right? And they were actually asking, you might have seen they were very harsh question they were asking. They
Correct.
were telling that we are not collecting, we are not reading, but they have asked, you are collecting or not? Then they have told yes. Are you reading or not? They told no. Can you read or not? Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Right.
correct.
So that's the case, right? So the another thing is when something comes to free as a free to you, right? Definitely we need to understand why it's free.
Correct.
Why it's free,
Correct. Yeah,
right?
of course. So
And
when
that is that
as
is
they
really,
say,
really important. I will tell you another thing. I never ever, right, use that like a Google Home or Alexa and all. I'm not using in my home. These are another way to get all your data. We feel that we are not listening. Even my phone. If I don't need, I have to just come out of that internet. I don't know that things are collecting, because many a times you will feel that you are talking on something, right? And the moment you will go to another place, you will find that kind of advertisement. It's not coincidence. It's not at all
correct.
coincidence.
Yeah, so I think now that I think it's been mostly most of the public is aware that these Alexas, home devices, even our cell phones, laptops, everybody hears what we talk around, and that's why they are able to connect the dots that whatever they talk about the next day or maybe on the same day after an hour, they are able to see it on their social media or on their browser, right? So everybody is able to connect the dot. But is there a way to prevent from this or to safeguard yourself from this? Is the only
You
way
can
to not buy these things?
No, that's not the only case. But yeah, I will tell you, there are a few things like we have to be sure how much. See, it's not like you can protect yourself 100%,
Correct,
but can you start looking into that how you can protect yourself? Is it easily I'm just sharing my information, right, or not? Or I'm using these tools like all 24 by 7,
correct,
right? When I should not use, when I should use. I will tell you, if you'll go to any government, especially the security agencies and defense, right? If you go there, outside only they will say that put your all your gadgets.
correct,
Why? It's just, and this applies to them also, not only the visitors. They will be also not having anything, right?
correct,
So the whole thing is like they cannot trust. So we have to also understand like which are the things and how much we should use. I'm not saying that I should not use that Alexa at all, or I should not use that WhatsApp at all, right? Because that's a, if I will do that, probably it's not like a wise decision, right? I have not found like Alexa something which I should be using it. That's the reason I'm not using it. But yes, if you'll ask me like WhatsApp or Meta or any that kind of product, right, I'm using it, right? But I have to
Correct.
find out like, okay, how much and what I should share there, what I should not.